come together to say, yes, we can do this, and you are the people who've braved the weather today to do it. But we need even more people to rise up. We need even more people. So this is an invitation to you in the words of Benjamin Zephaniah. If you didn't have troublemakers, most women wouldn't have the right to vote. A black person wouldn't be talking to a white person, and I'd probably be back in slavery. We need more troublemakers to challenge the establishment. So that is my invitation to you today. We're going to leave here promptly, hopefully, after our speakers have finished. And we'll go past the museum, onto Park Place, onto Queen Street. The thing I just need to say to you is you will have noticed there's quite a heavy police presence in Cardiff today. Nothing to do with us, it's to do with the football, okay? So just to set your mind at rest about that. Now note that when we get down to the Aneurin Bevan statue, the march changes and it's the Palestine March, and I know lots of you will want to join that march. That's great. Equally, it is your time to leave if you don't want to do that. Yeah, we've got a chapter, as I say. We've got 2 chapters, I think. We've got 3, actually. And we also have our stewards, and we've got Cardiff Council here as well. So any concern, please speak to me, them, or anyone with high vis on. So I'm going to introduce you to our first speaker today. She represents a huge group of people here in the UK who are impacted by climate change and the transition to green, sustainable jobs. Please welcome Sian Gale from Wales TUC.
Prynawn da baw, good afternoon everyone. I'm delighted to be here today representing TUC Cymru, that represents 400,000 workers throughout Wales, and it would be great to have some more, so if you're not a union member, join now. Trade unions are fighting for a just transition from climate justice in workplaces around the country. For unions, there are 3 parts to climate justice. First, the challenge to secure justice for our workforce. A transition must give workers a central voice in planning for change. It's important that when we do have these new jobs, then not all the profits aren't going out from the workforce into private hands. And the new jobs that are created must be as good as any that are lost in terms of security, pay, skills, pensions, equality, health and safety, and trades union recognition. Second, there is the challenge of global climate justice. There are obviously stark differences, both historically and right now, in terms of the per capita CO2 emissions between the populations of different countries. Hence, a just transition. We have to recognise the legitimate objections that are levelled against rich countries on this, and accept that the quality of life that we enjoy in Wales today has been developed through high levels of resource exploitation and pollution. We must meet the obligations that flow from this. Finally, there is the justice that we owe to future generations. In Wales, that commitment to reduce our carbon emissions to net zero by 2050 is enshrined in law. And we also have the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, the first Future Generations Commission in the world. And this should, in theory at least, give us a head start in how we assess policy options and balance short and longer term interests. Mention of climate justice may sound a bit abstract, so I want to end by making a few practical points of what we in the trades union movement are doing. Firstly, inaction on climate change has massive costs too. Often we only hear about the price tags associated with green investment and not what happens investment isn't made. We know that 660,000 jobs in the UK are at risk of being moved offshore to countries that offer superior green infrastructure and greater support for decarbonising industry. Second, thousands of workers are taking the initiative across all industry and at different levels. And funding from Welsh Government helps the Wales TUC and unions to inform, educate and upskill the workers on a just transition. Take a look at the TUC Wales website, because we've got some information there about a lot of the activities that the TUC are doing. Those in high carbon industries are developing plans to decarbonise their workplace and future-proof jobs. The push for the development of green steel here in Wales is a great example, and we stand in solidarity with workers at Tata Steel in Port Talbot who are fighting for the future of their industry. They want to change, they want to make their industry carbon neutral, and to save thousands of jobs in a community that really needs those jobs. In my own union, Bectu, our freelance workers in TV and film are organising a Kit for Crew initiative where industry professionals are giving away high-quality second-hand outdoor clothing to new entrants who can't afford these essential goods. And this is just the beginning, so there are things being done on a large scale and on a micro scale. Finally, governments and employers need to follow the lead of workers and invest. Our research has identified almost 60,000 jobs that could be created through projects to expand railways, roll out broadband, decarbonise steel, restore nature, expand electrical vehicle charging and insulate our drafty homes. With our natural resources here in Wales, the opportunities are phenomenal. So Wales played a huge part in the Industrial Revolution. It's now time for us all to embrace the Green Revolution. Solidarity.
Thank you so much. Does I have my... Thanks, Sian. So our next speaker, who has stepped in at the last minute, thank you so much, is Dr. Elsig Ibrahim, and I'm really pleased to welcome him here today. He's got many years of experience in the energy sector. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to express my thanks to the organizers of this event today. As speaker before me addressed the issue of climate change, I will stick to the same point, especially the justice of climate. The world population, increasing world population, is the main cause of the climate change and the main cause for the energy demand. I set a research for the energy production and demand across the globe and in the UK. I'm going to give you a few figures why climate change is injustice for the poor country and also injustice for the development of underdeveloped country. The main cause of the pollution, the aircraft engine and industrial gas turbine, which produce pollution, contribute negatively to damage the atmosphere. In addition to that, greenhouses, cars, power station, nuclear power station, all together contribute to the climate change dilemma. And all that based in the developed and industrialized country, which reflect the injustice of the climate change issue. The Kyoto Protocol in 2003 and Paris Agreement, they set up a roadmap for the developed country to follow, with regulations and abide with the climate change protection. The solution will be introducing renewable energy, new tech, and new technology to tackle the emissions such as CO2 and NOx emission from the power station, car exhaust pipes, industrial gas turbine, and aircraft. In 2010, the demand in the UK for energy was 26 gigawatt, and the production was 24 gigawatt of electricity. The contribution of the renewable energy back in the days is 3%. There is an improvement in the UK in following the Kyoto Protocol roadmap, which improve the production of energy from renewable energy by 41%. In 2023, currently, the demand in the UK for energy, and mainly electricity, 62 gigawatt. But the production is 77 gigawatt. This production comes mainly from power stations, nuclear, fossil fuels, coal and steam. All this affect the atmosphere. The UK, one of the industrialized or developed countries which contribute massively to the pollution dilemma, while the underdeveloped country suffer poverty. And this reflects the issue of our event today, protest today, the injustice of climate change. People, leaders have to find a way out. That is why we're here today. The target of the global government, according to the Kyoto Protocol, by 2050 should be zero emission. But that will not happen unless 75% of renewable energy being introduced. So people should go green. That is the only things can contribute to the climate change injustice issue. The world energy consumption nowadays is 25 million terahair of electricity. That's in 2023. Imagine how much the emission out of all these power stations across the globe, the Americas, Europe's, Africa's, Asian, all this emission go to the atmosphere, increase the temperature by 3 degrees centigrade above the normal temperature. That is led to flood, drought, and all those catastrophes, fires, you name it. The annual global consumption for electricity depends on 5.8 million joules of emissions.
Thank you so much for that. Our next speaker is Bethan Syed. Tributes for Climate Cymru.
Now, I know many of you come here week in, week out, year in, year out, campaigning. And I guess we can get a bit disillusioned with what's happening on a UK level and a world level, and especially what's happening in COP28 at the moment. We're looking and we're thinking, is this going to be another cop-out? Is this going to be another waste of time? And what we have to do here today is tell world leaders this can't be another cop-out. This can't be another waste of time, because our world is on fire and we cannot wait anymore for you to change. But I can understand why we would be a bit cynical, because we've got an oil baron as head of COP28, who only the last few days has come out as some sort of climate denier, saying, well, no matter if we did reduce fossil fuels, if we did transition, we would find ourselves back in the caves. What type of statement is that from the head of COP28, there solely to try and cut emissions, solely to try and change the situation that we are now in? We have nearly 3,000 lobby groups for the oil and gas industry at COP28, wanting to wheedle their way into the influencing of political leaders to try and stop any progress. And what we have are people negotiating wording to say, shall we try and do a little bit better in getting rid of fossil fuels? Shall we actually phase it out, or shall we get rid of it? Yes, we have to get rid of it if we are serious about our climate and about the future of this world. It is not debatable. And then we see everybody saying, well, of course, we've got the loss and damage fund for those countries that are affected the most by climate change. Those countries, for the first time, Africa has had its own climate summit and has taken their voice to COP28. About climate justice, when our fields are being torn apart, when we can't grow anything, when our water is being cut off by Israeli forces. What type of climate justice is that? Our people do not have justice. So they're there having these conversations saying, if we're going to be talking about climate rights, if we're going to be talking about anything to do with all of the conflicts in the world, including Palestine, then we have to ensure that the human rights of those people are respected. And that comes hand in hand with climate justice. So don't let our world leaders abstain or vote against a ceasefire, because by doing that, they're consigning Palestinians to history. They have to rebuild. They have to turn back those water taps on. They have white phosphorus being put onto them by the Israelis. What type of climate justice is that? That is no justice at all. And we stand with the Palestinian people in this protest today. And when it comes to Wales, well, of course, I was on the radio this morning and the presenter wanted to tell me how good the Welsh Government was on many of these issues, how they had closed the latest open cast mine in my hometown of Merthyr. And I said, okay, whoa, stop a minute. Unless all these people here today, you, had campaigned, some of you doing some non-violent direct action outside the mine, some of you turning up and protesting with your children day and night, some residents from Merthyr making themselves pretty difficult to the authorities for many, many years, and making themselves unpopular with their neighbours sometimes too. They carried on. They were the ones that stopped the mine. They were the ones that closed the mine, not the Welsh Government. They didn't even issue a stop notice when they were coaling illegally. So, yes, you can tell us about your climate week and on your Zoom meetings. Yes, you can tell us how great your Future Generations Commissioner is that doesn't have the teeth that it needs to change anything in terms of legislation here in Wales. We don't want to sit in these meetings anymore. We want action. We want to free Wales from fossil fuels. I represented Port Talbot in the Senedd for almost 15 years, and only now we're talking about greening Port Talbot. We should have been making these changes 20, 25, 30 years ago, and making sure that the transition to those jobs that they vitally need in that area are there for them. Then we can take people with us. We don't want what happened in the valleys in the 80s to happen again, where people are consigned to history, that they don't have the jobs they need. They are valuable. They are with us. But we have to take people with us on this journey. And so taking the people of Port Talbot, the people of Merthyr, the people of the Almond Valley, the people of Aberpergwm who work in those mines, we really have to be going in, very tough to go into communities sometimes to talk to people, because jobs are jobs. But what are jobs worth if they're going to kill us eventually? They're not going to be worth anything. So we need to ensure that we take the voice to the Welsh Government and we ensure that change happens. And believe me, we may all have protest fatigue because we're doing everything we can in whatever area we have. But we do have a voice. If one person here says, I'm feeling a bit crap today, I don't feel that I can do this, all of us here are there to support you. We are going to do this together, because together we can make change. Together we are the troublemakers. Benjamin, rest in power. Because nothing has changed from sitting in a meeting. Don't believe me, that's why I left politics. We will change things from being on the streets. We will change things from making ourselves difficult to the people in power. We will change things because they have to listen. And they can tell us how difficult we are forever, but we will continue to be difficult. And a well-behaved woman never made history. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
At events like this. And here she is, being amazing as usual.
Thank you. Hiya guys, whoa, okay. So normally, as you know, I would shout, right? But there's not enough people for me to shout today. I was going to tell you and just bring it all in. We know about our climate justice. We know that we're like, nobody's doing anything right out here. But the point has already been made. When we think about our bills, when we think about electricity, gas, water, food, we have to think about those that live under an apartheid occupation, that don't receive so much as a drop of water. Now, after me, I've got an incredible speaker coming on as well, Hussein. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave him explain a bit more. But like for the Black Lives Matters, I've written a poem about Palestine for you. I'm just going to read this out. I say read it, whether it's a rap, a poem, a spoken word, call it what you want. But what it is a simple message which hopefully explains to you all very quickly what is happening and why that is happening today. I stand here to march with all of you for climate justice, but today I ask you all to continue marching with us for the people of Palestine, who currently need our voices more than any cause in the world, because what we witness on a daily is genocide. We're not hiding words no more. This is murder. And if we stand for climate justice and we think about saving people and the planet, think about the bombs, think about the missiles, think about the obliteration on the planet on that side, and what? They think we're all going to stand around and be quiet about it. Give me just a moment so I can pop my phone in my pocket, and I shall deliver the poem for you. Hello. Do you condemn Hamas as what? They ask. While IDF mobilizes their tasks. Every day the BBC is showing propaganda while Israel is killing kids. This is slander. All the murder that's unfolding, it's a tragedy. It's a really dark side to humanity. Israel declared this is another Nakba. Palestinians dying, Allahu Akbar. I'm traumatized watching all the deaths in Gaza. This entire situation's a palaver. This goes back in time, it's British history. This is playing out like a Nazi victory. In 1948, a Zionist state was formed, occupied by Jews that didn't have no place to go. But as time went by and greed took over, Gaza was pushed out to the border, living under occupation. It's not a prison, it's a concentration, genocide upon civilians, claiming all the children are the terrorists. So they kill them all and use them as human shields. Resilience like we have never seen. While we're deafened by the children's screams, instead of children playing on their motherlands, they steal their bikes, they're wounded in their father's hands. Israel is out here bombing hospitals and schools, treating all of us watching like we're fools, raining white phosphorus upon the people. It's a war crime, it's illegal. The West is funding Netanyahu's ugly killing spree, comes at the cost of our humanity. Pay for the tragedy while civilians run from the savagery. This is not justified, this is not a war. Palestinian bodies laying dead all on the floor. This is a genocide upon a dying population. This is a massacre, not retaliation. Killing all the journalists, Al Jazeera, as if we can't read an encyclopedia which tells us that in history there's Palestine, but Israel remains a mystery, it's all a lie. Starting out from the Balfour Declaration, the start of Israeli occupation. This is now a violent situation. No innocence safe from invasion. No regards to any laws causing devastation. This is now a violent situation. Palestine needs out of this insanity. It's up to us to offer our humanity to change it. Sorry, guys. To sanction Israel, charge them for the genocide. Over 20,000 Palestinians died. 8,000 children left for their creator. Give me a minute, guys. I'm sorry. We're gonna go there. I'm sorry. Guys, do you know what I'm gonna do, right? I just realized that when I write these things, okay, I write them because it's what it is and how I feel, and I've never not been able to complete and finish what I need to say. I'm gonna re-deliver this again at the other end. But when I talk to you and say 20,000 Palestinians have died, that's not the figure anymore. We're on about 26,000 Palestinians have died. 10,000 children have died. 1,000 children remain under the rubble. 1,000 children have their limbs blown off. Please understand, This has gone beyond. Over 2 months, we have watched the massacre, the genocide upon a population of people that have rocks to fight with. And now I ask all of you, exactly like I started, who do you condemn? This is not about Hamas, like it was about ISIS, like it was about Bin Laden, like it was about Saddam Hussein, like it's always been about someone else, except for the people that fund the genocide. Israel are murderers committing genocide. I am sorry that I was unable to complete this at this moment, but I shall re-deliver. Or, if we have a moment, would you like me to take it from the top and start again? That's up to you guys. Okay. Do you condemn Hamas is what? I ask. While IDF mobilizes their tasks. Every day the BBC is showing propaganda while Israelis killing kids. This is slander. All the murder that's unfolding, it's a tragedy. It's a really dark side to humanity. Israel declared this is another Nakba. Palestinians dying, Allahu Akbar. I'm traumatized watching all the deaths in Gaza. This entire situation's a palaver. This goes back in time, it's British history. This is playing out like a Nazi victory. In 1948, a Zionist state was formed, occupied by Jews that didn't have no place to go. But as time went by and greed took over, Gaza was pushed out to the border, living under occupation. It's not a prison, it's a concentration genocide upon civilians, claiming all the children are the terrorists. So they kill them all and use them as human shields. Resilience like we have never seen. While we're deafened by the children's screams instead of children playing on their motherland, they steal their bikes, they're wounded in their father's hands. Israelis out here bombing hospitals and schools, treating all of us watching like we're fools, raining white phosphorus upon the people. It's a war crime, it's illegal. The West is funding Netanyahu's ugly killing spree, comes at the cost of our humanity. All our taxes pay for the savagery, while civilians run from the tragedy. This is not justified, this is not a war. Palestinian bodies laying dead all on the floor. This is a genocide upon a dying population. This is a massacre, not retaliation. Killing all the journalists, Al Jazeera, as if we can't read an encyclopedia which tells us that in history there's Palestine, but Israel remains a mystery, it's all a lie. Starting out from the Balfour Declaration, the start of Israeli occupation. This is now a violent situation. No innocent safe from invasion. No regards to any laws causing devastation. This is now a total condemnation. Palestine needs out of this insanity. It's up to us to offer our humanity to sanction Israel, charge them for the genocide. Over 20,000 Palestinians died. 10,000 children left with their creator. The Zionists are nothing but haters. It's apartheid, ethnic cleansing, for Palestine will rise to defend it. It's apartheid, ethnic cleansing. Together we'll rise and defend it. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass over to Hussein so we can get ready to march. And guys, what we're going to do, there is strength in numbers. When we call, we need you to call back. We need an energy. We need a vibe. We ain't out here in the cold not to make a point. Today, we will let Cardiff know we are together and we are ripping up the streets. See you soon, everyone.
So people might be thinking, why are we here today for Palestine? I want to first give a shout out to the climate movement in Cardiff, because this is not unusual. 3 years ago, during the Black Lives Matter movement, when XR did their summer rebellion in Cardiff, we marched for Black Lives with the climate justice movement. We've always been standing with the different movements and the different groups that have been oppressed from the very beginning, and that in no small part is to many of the people here, from Claire to David to all the other people that have been building that movement for a long time. One thing we have to remember with Israel and Palestine, it's not a conflict that resides outside of climate change. It is within itself part of climate change. Israel dumped waste, toxic waste in the West Bank. The bombs that are dropped, more bombs in 2 weeks than America bombed on Afghanistan in the first year of the invasion. That's how many bombs have been dropped on Gaza and in Palestine. What you're talking about there is 5%, as we know here, 5% of the emissions, global emissions, are from the US Pentagon. War adds to climate change. Destruction of communities adds to climate change. Destruction of natural environments adds to climate change. And is a principle amongst the climate protesters, and is a principle in the climate movement. And that's indigenous people care about the land they are on. And that is why the Palestinians fight for their land, and it is why Israel burn it to the ground. Because it is Palestinian land, and that does not mean it's Muslim land. It means it's Palestinian land for Muslims, Jews, Christians, and secular people under one free state. A Palestinian state. I was born in Baghdad. And Baghdad was blown to bits by the US. And if you're telling me that was not because of fossil fuels, then there's something else that you need to read, and there's something else you need to look at, because we all know it was for fossil fuels. They tell us there's something else. They went there to take and extract resources. And that's exactly why we argue as well for a free Palestine and how it relates to the climate movement. Because we know Israel, as Haaretz, the liberal newspaper in Israel, said in 1952, Israel is only there as a beacon for the West, for US and UK hegemony. When, in the words of Haaretz, when the UK and the US and Western imperialism want to close their eyes, it is Israel, the Israeli state, that can do their dirty work. And that's why we call for an end and a one-state solution with Palestine, where people can live in free harmony with one another. Because we know Israel, at its very source, is about imperialism. And that imperialism doesn't just end in Palestine. It doesn't just end within the borders that they have constructed. As Netanyahu said himself, if Lebanon say one word too many, they will also go there. He's threatening the whole of the Middle East. And that's why war is our greatest enemy, and why the very foundation of the climate movement is peace. And the very foundation of the climate movement is living with one another on land that we respect. And we cannot do that when there is an imperialist nation destroying natural land, murdering thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, making lie after lie after lie, as we sit here and watch. We don't sit here and watch. We stand up. And we've been standing up for a long time. We've been organising protests for the past 7 weeks outside the Nye Bevan statue and in the city centre. And thousands of people have come. And what has that led to? We talk about the climate movement. I personally think the climate movement in Palestine has a lot in common. They're very urgent situations. They require radical solutions. And our government's not doing anything to stop them. So we have a lot in common. I've organised the climate movement for a long time, and we know we all have a lot in common. And our protest, our movement, has pushed the Senate to call for a ceasefire. But that's not the end, because the UK recently abstained on the UN vote to call for a permanent ceasefire. The US vetoed it. They're not our friends. Everyone amongst us is our friends, and when we go there and we see the protesters waiting, remember they are our friends too. We are one, we are a movement, and the strength is in our numbers. Because let's remember this: as much as they have the power, as much as they have the media, the political institutions, we have the people, we have the truth, and we have each other, and that is enough. And one day we will win. So when we march there, I want us loud, I want us angry, and I want them to see that in numbers, we will never be defeated. We will rise and we will show them what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Let's march.